Hello friends and welcome to my February wrap-up. So in the month of February I read 5 books, which amounts to a total of 1802 pages. Yeah, I am pretty proud of myself. So I mostly read fantasy and sci-fi books. I also love historical fiction, the occasional biography. So if that is a match, then you are welcome to see my wrap-ups every month on this channel. And the month of February had a little bit of everything, I might say. So yeah, it was a good month. In order to remember everything, I have my trusted reading journal, which I got in my December Fairy Loot box. And this way I can just write down my favorite quotes, the amount of pages, or just random thoughts that I have about these books. So this will come in handy throughout my wrap-ups. And yeah, as I said, I read a total of 5 books, so I am really excited to share my thoughts with you guys. And if you read any of the books that I'm going to review, then please let me know in the comments down below. I would love to start a discussion about them. And if you like these kind of book reviews or book box unboxings, then don't forget to click the subscribe button and hit that bell so you never miss another video of me again. Now let's get to it. The first book is It Will Fall by Harian, and this came in one of my Fairy Loot boxes. It is a young adult fantasy book and it has 359 pages? Yeah, 359 pages. The title kind of says it all because this book is about 18s that have to fall into this subterranean realm where they have to find an ancient evil that terrorizes their kingdom. And all these teens are empaths, which means that they can either conjure or destroy through using their emotions. So while going on this journey through these dark caves, they have to take control of their magic and survive. This was a very dark fantasy. It was very mysterious, very creepy at some times, and I just couldn't put this book down. So that's a really good thing. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. One of the things that I thought was pretty cool about this book is that the author based this story on her fondness of video games. She describes this story as a mix between Dead Space and Skyrim, and I don't know if you guys know these games, but I do. I'm kind of a big game nerd, and that instantly attracted me to the story. Alright, and my favorite quote from It Will Fall is, "There's no such thing as courage without fear, after all." Next book that I read is The Love Letter from Juliet by Melanie Hudson. This came in my Once Upon a Book Club box in January, and this is an historical fiction novel. It has a total of 415 pages and it made me cry my eyes out. Yep. We follow 2 characters. First, of course, is Juliet, who is a pilot in the Second World War, and second is Catherine, who is in the present. She is a widow and she's invited to Cornwall to stay in this little cottage where Juliet used to live. And while staying in this cottage, she finds a manuscript, and in there is Juliet's life. So Juliet wrote down her entire life, and Catherine reads this and relives her story. Although the book is about the Second World War, I think romance is at its core, so an unattainable, passionate romance, and that's also the reason why I felt really emotional throughout this book. And what's also really cool is that the author based Juliet on a real-life character called Mary Alice, who was a Spitfire girl. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. I just couldn't give it 5 stars because the author kind of made a lot of grammatical errors, not like 2 or 3 but 10 or more, and that just put me off. So yeah, I gave it 4 stars, but it is definitely worth reading. And for this book, I actually had 2 favorite quotes. So the first one is, "It didn't matter in which direction I walked, all that mattered was to walk with purpose, even if the destination was a vague one." So this describes what a conniewampler is, and before reading this book, I didn't know what that was. And if you don't know, now you know. So yeah, that was something I wanted to remember. And the other quote that I wrote down from The Love Letter from Juliet is, "The most beautiful woman in any room is the woman with the most joy in her heart." Next up is The Kingdom by Jess Rothenberg, and this was the surprise of the month because I really like this book. It is a young adult sci-fi fantasy book, and it has 335 pages. We follow Anna, who is a fantasist at the kingdom where happily ever after isn't just a promise but a rule. And these fantasists are kind of AIs that have a human body. They look like princesses, and their job is just to walk around at this theme park and make your every wish come true. The story starts with the court case of Anna because they think she killed Owen, who was somebody that worked at the kingdom. And Anna is just going on this journey and finding out all these secrets about the kingdom, and she just wants a better life for herself. I think Westworld meets Disney World because that is the best way I can describe this book. As I said, I really liked it. I gave it 5 stars. I just flew through the pages. It is a standalone, but I am secretly hoping for a sequel. I really love the layout of this book. So you have the normal storyline. We also have some trial transcripts, a news clipping. Yeah, I just really loved how she put everything together. My favorite quote from The Kingdom is, "In the end, it does not matter what a story is about. It only matters who gets to tell it." Next up is Romanov by Nadine, and this is a young adult fantasy book with historical elements because the author actually based this on the historical facts that we know about the Romanov family. This book has a total of 328 pages. Before reading this book, I actually knew a thing or two already about the Romanovs because I watched The Lost Stars on Netflix and I also read some stuff about them. So the book follows Anastasia, who is the youngest of the Romanov family, or the youngest daughter, I should say. She also has a little brother who was meant to be the star of Russia, but the Romanov family gets captured by the Bolsheviks, who are a group of people that want a democracy and not a monarchy. So that is why they take the entire family to this safe house and they guard them and kind of imprison them there. So there's this big event that takes place with the Romanov family, and if you already know the story about the Romanovs, then you know what I'm talking about. And that also happens in this book because she is following the historical facts, but then the magic comes into play, and I think that's where the story really takes off. I gave this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed the story. I love that it's kind of a retelling and that there is another ending to the Romanov family. What I thought would have been better is the first part of the book is about the imprisonment of the Romanov family and how they cope with that. I thought that part in the book was pretty long. That could have been a bit shorter for me, but other than that, I really enjoyed this book. And my favorite quote from Romanov: "Peace, quiet and safety are all well, but community and relationships are what truly fill a person's life." The final book that I read in February is A Woman in Moonlight by Isabel Ibañez. This book has a total of 365 pages, and this came in one of my Fairy Loot boxes. It is a young adult fantasy book, and the author took inspiration from Bolivian culture and politics. We follow Ximena, who is the decoy condesa, which means she is kind of the leader of the people. At least everyone thinks so, but she is actually not. Someone else is the real Condesa, but she is just a decoy, and this comes in handy because he is captured and forced to marry the evil king called Atok because he thinks he is the real Condesa. Ximena is imprisoned, and through weaving moonlight in her tapestries, she can send secret messages to the other side so they can rescue her and she doesn't have to marry this evil person, Atok. Although this book has all the right elements to become a great fantasy book, it just didn't take off for me. I mean, I loved all these magical elements, the weaving in moonlight, the inspiration that she drew from Bolivian politics and culture, but the storyline just didn't make sense to me. It felt very illogical at times. The characters made decisions that, in my opinion, just didn't fit their personality, and that made me feel disconnected to them. So I just didn't feel their pain or their emotions while reading the story. and that meant that I gave this book 3 stars. And my favorite quote from Woven in Moonlight is, "Everything always seems sweeter in the minutes before darkness descends." Okay guys, that was it, my February wrap up. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you want to read the full review on these books, I will leave the link to my Goodreads in the description down below. And also if you want to see my TBR for March, which I already started with by the time that this video is going up, you can see that on my Instagram. You can find me at Leanda Brooks. I also post some other magical photos on there. So if you want to, you can give me a follow on Instagram. And yeah, with that, I am just gonna ask you guys to give it a thumbs up if you like this video. And all that's left for me to say is have a magical day and let's stay in touch.